Hi all, Norm here. Are you wondering if it might be time to switch your unit over to a professional host? Are you wondering about management fees and payouts? Well, today I'm going to dispel the 3 biggest myths about professional hosts, and hopefully that makes your decision on whether or not you should be looking at using one instead of doing it yourself a little bit easier. I do want to preface this by saying that I used to be a professional vacation rental host, and I understand why some people choose to self-host, but there are lots of benefits to not having to do it all yourself. So with that being said, let's get into it. Myth number 1. Low management fees are better. I know lots of professional hosts who have a management fee around 20%. While that's fine, it is really limiting to the host. When I was a professional host, my management fee was 40%. And you might be saying, whoa, that is a crazy amount. And for some people, they just couldn't get over the initial shock of the 40%. But having a higher management fee actually does come with a lot of benefits. First off, those who charge higher fees typically have more experience than those who are charging lower fees. My background was spending 14 years in hotels prior to moving to vacation rentals. During this period, I learned so many of the core features of hospitality, and it gave me a huge competitive edge against those who charged a lower fee. I had a marketing cycle, I was able to put money regularly into advertising. I had a dedicated revenue manager who was regularly monitoring the competition. I was listed on all of the major OTAs like Expedia and Booking.com. In turn, that helped me maximize my occupancies for my owners. I was also able to command a higher average daily rate than the competition because I had a better understanding of the market and what drives it. I also covered commission and credit card fees, charges that a lot of the smaller companies can't handle and pass on to the owners. Consider this. If the unit is going to make $10,000 in a month of gross revenue by a host charging 30%, the owner will net $7,000 of that, and the company will make $3,000. If that same unit is only going to make $8,000 by a host that charges 20% instead, you, as the owner, will only net $6,400 instead of $7,000. Initially, that $600 might not seem like a lot, but over the course of a year, that can add up to thousands of dollars that you're leaving on the table simply by searching out a lower commission. Now, I just want to clarify, if someone's offering you a hosting fee of only like 20%, it doesn't mean that they're necessarily a bad host. In fact, I know lots of outstanding hosts with these lower management fees in the 20 to 25% range, and they're really great at their job. And in fact, I've recommended hosts within that range to some of my clients in the past. However, as an owner, it's important for you to understand that there are some potential drawbacks to automatically going with the lowest cost option. The best thing that you can do for yourself and for your asset is to do some searching for the right host, or have someone with experience assist you in finding the proper host. Myth number 2. Bigger companies are better. You might be tempted to go with a larger company, for example, Vacasa, or any of the other larger companies that manage thousands of units on behalf of owners. That might make sense for some, but there are real downfalls to this tactic. If you like to be a bit more hands-on and want regular contact with your professional host, it's likely considerably more difficult to get a hold of a larger company than it is to deal with a small-time host. Your unit might be managed by a host that has to cover an entire city or region. And for one of these larger hosts, that could mean hundreds of units that they're managing. And during the high season, that is when the units can reasonably expected to be booked out almost every night, you can bet that the larger host is going to be extremely busy managing the day-to-day operations, running all over the place, and they just won't have as much time to deal with you directly. Couple that with some of the horror stories that I've heard about owners trying to get out of their contract, and you might see why a smaller host is the way to go. Compare this to your typical small or growing business of only a couple dozen units. You'll definitely notice a difference in their owner relations strategy. Your unit, first off, is more important to the overall success of their operation. You'll also make up a much greater proportion of their revenue. So a small-time host has almost no choice but to provide excellent service to you as the owner. So if you're looking for great customer service and typically a better all-around experience for your guests, in my opinion, smaller might be the way you want to go. And lastly, myth number 3, professional hosts don't care about my asset. Wear and tear is a normal part of managing any hotel or vacation rental. It's going to happen whether you like it or not. The truth of the matter is that the guests don't care as much about your furniture as you do. It's important that you set clear expectations with a professional host so that you don't end up disappointed when you want to use it for personal use. It's in a host's best interest to ensure that your unit is in tip-top shape for every guest. This includes maintaining the furniture and appliances to a high standard and keeping everything in good running functional order. Otherwise, the host risks their good status and potentially paying out compensation for issues. If something goes wrong, let's say a dishwasher needs to be replaced or there's a flood in your room, a good professional host will be contacting you as soon as possible. So those are 3 of the most common misconceptions that I usually hear about when an owner is trying to decide whether to use a professional host. I hope that this helped you with your decision on whether or not using a professional host is for you, and maybe which sort of host you might want to seek out. If you have any questions or are interested in more information, you can find the link to my website in the description, and as always, happy hosting.